Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
I promise you, this is not a political podcast.
Jump from the deep into the pool, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. 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 Oh, it's gonna be a good one. Testicles 1, 2, testicles. Welcome back to Paranormal Radio Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Trebles Garcia, your humble host. And I want to give the thanks to the Lord for allowing me to be here today. And I want to thank every single one of you for allowing me to enter your space. I got stuck there for a minute. Guys, I have an amazing episode lined up for all of you guys. But before anything, I want to remind you that the most important thing that you could do for the show today is word of mouth. Do not forget to check us out at paranormalradio.com. And if you guys have been paranormally activated or are fighting some critters eating your chickens in the back side of the house, contact Cryptid Warfare Operations. They'll give you the tools and the guidelines and the guidance to be able to combat these things. Also, check out Ali Christine and Live Parasitic Free. I don't get paid to say this, guys, as I'm uplifting my team out here. She would give you the tools you need to live and make kids healthy again by living parasitic free. Also, making sure check out Flavors of the Forest and season your meat before you eat. Guys, drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Now, let's jump in from the deep into the pool and set the freaking mood. Woo! Guys, I am so lucky she's on the show. I'm actually blowing a little. I'm showing it off at the Alliance with the guys on the guild and talking some smack back and forth. And she is a huge success talking about Bigfoot and all the spicy stuff in the backwoods. Please give a warm welcome to Jessica Jones from the Cryptid Huntress podcast. Jessica?
Hey, what's up? Thank you for having me. That's fun. You're actually talking about some of my buddies there, and I'm actually on a team with Drewski.
Oh wow, yeah.
I
met Drewski. He put me on to you, and he's a badass. But before anything, where can people find you?
People can find me on my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress, and also I'm all over social media, and I have a website. It's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find me there.
This is it right there, guys. If you guys are looking at the screen, make sure you check her out. She is totally badass, dude. Oh, yeah, I got to ask her some stuff about this. I wanted to share. So I got you here, and I got you for a minimal amount of time, and I want to ask you something. So great job, by the way. You kick ass. You're amazing. Your content and the panel of speakers that you had back then with all the boys, totally fun, kick ass episode. But I seen something that really stuck out on Instagram. Dead deers? Not deers. What is that? Okay, it's not fungus, is it?
It could be. It could be. I don't know. I mean, I did a show. I did cover the knot deer. They're called the knot deers. And the knot deers are interesting because they could be a number of things. Okay, the knot deer is something that looks like a deer, but it's not quite a deer. Some people call them zombie deers. Okay. And so they look, you ever heard of like the uncanny valley for humans? It's almost like an uncanny valley for deer. Okay. There's something wrong with them. They have extra joints in their legs. Their horns are off to the side a little bit. Instead of their eyes being on each side of its head, they're actually pointed forward like a predator. Okay.
Like
and that's not the way a deer rolls usually. Okay. Their eyes don't go that way. Maybe a different eye color, or they just don't act right. And here's the thing. I cover skinwalkers. Okay, I know I'm not supposed to say that word too much, but I've actually gone on an investigation to go into a skinwalker cave, as a matter of fact, with Drewski. Drewski was there. And
Wow.
that was about a year and a half, maybe almost, it was either a year or 2 years ago. It's been a while, up in Tennessee. And we
Any
did that.
details on that?
Oh yeah, that was a fun trip. We had a young lady who had contacted us. Her name was Farah. She and her husband had bought a home sight unseen. Okay, I don't think they visited it yet. They just bought it. It was a cabin on the side of a mountain, and I think they knew there was a cave entrance on the property. But I don't think they knew how intense this cave was going to be.
Oh my goodness. Drewski mentioned partially, and they did an offering, right? And then she woke it up.
She did something. Yeah, she did something. I think it was already awake, whatever was in there. But she went to this cabin, and I guess she said that this cave entrance was 30 feet from her back door, and she was already kind of weirded out by the cave entrance there. But when she walked over to it, she was scared to go inside of it because something was really creepy about it. And she was hearing voices, or she set up a voice recorder. There was something weird going on where it just felt like there might be somebody in that cave. Now, there wasn't just this one gigantic cave opening 30 feet from her back door. There were smaller cave openings as well that kind of like went, I guess they went down like different little alleyways and stuff down into in the caverns of this cave. And if you know anything about Tennessee, Tennessee is just one big cave underneath, really. I mean, they've got a lot of caves. But it was creepy, and she vowed not to go in it by herself too often. I think her husband, and she and her husband both kind of went inside of it a little bit. I don't think they explored way too much into it. But eventually they put up a chicken coop right outside the entrance of that cave. Because you got to remember, this is right behind her house. And she had nowhere else to put her chicken coop, I guess. And so she put her chicken coop there with all her pet prize chickens, beautiful chickens.
And chickens are a commodity nowadays, guys. If you guys, every household, the government should give a chicken for every household, at least, at minimum.
They should. We should all have eggs. Eggs got expensive there for a while. Prices come down now. I just went to the grocery store. They're more affordable now than they were. But back then, when they were taking her chickens, okay, and I hadn't gotten to this part yet, but her chickens started going missing. And but when they were taking her chickens, I mean, eggs are always a hot commodity. So are the chickens. And these are like, I guess you could call them like boutique style chickens or something. They're like the fancy ones, they're not just regular chickens.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, she was started waking up in the morning and going outside, and her chickens, like one at a time, would be missing. And it's not only that, like her chickens were going missing, and her house was getting slapped in the middle of the night. Like someone was coming and hitting their house. They put up cameras all around their house, pointed out towards the cave and the road and the little dried creek bed and all this stuff all around. And they were picking up figures on there. They were picking up aerial phenomenon like orbs. They were also picking up dark figures, like they look like dogmen slinking around, crawling around the yard, and potential Bigfoots, and a lot of weird stuff was going on out there. And she said also at night, she and her husband said the bed would vibrate in their house. Like there was something going underneath their house, almost like a secret underground tunnel or something. Okay.
Whoa.
Shut the front
door.
Yeah. A lot of activity. And so, but it came to a head whenever the chickens started going missing. And there was one chicken went missing, and then another chicken went missing. And the second chicken that went missing, they went to go check the cameras, and the cameras had been moved. So before whatever took her chickens took them, it actually tilted the cameras away to where they weren't pointed towards the chicken coop or the cave entrance. But here's the interesting thing. There was a large footprint right beside the chicken coop, like a bare human footprint is what it looked like. And there was a stick stuck inside the back of the chicken coop, like something had taken its hands with 5 fingers, 10 fingers, and stuck this big stick in the hole of the coop and shooed the chickens to the door and opened up the door, grabbed one, and then shut the door back. Okay, so that would indicate a human, a feral person, maybe even a dogman or a Bigfoot. I don't know. And there was a trail of chicken feathers going into that cave. Okay, and so she had called us. We were already in talks, and we're friends at the time. And so she somehow, I guess, Drewski and I, Drew got his crew together, and I met them up there for a weekend investigation. We're going to go into the caves and try to figure out what was going on, because at this point they were taking her chickens, and she was scared to even live there. Okay, and so
of course.
So we did an investigation. I am a longtime tracker and Bigfoot, investigator, and so I just knew when we got there we were actually going to find tracks that were going to go into that cave, and we're going to be able to tell like what took her chicken and what went into that cave, because of course it's going to leave tracks, right? And but knowing what I know too, Bigfoots don't always leave tracks. Okay, you can see them and there's no tracks, or there's one footprint and that's it. And so so we got there and did a little surface level investigation, and saw the footprint and everything, and we're assessing the situation. And we decided to go into the cave. And when we got in there, the floor of the cave was so thick with mud. We were having trouble walking through there, and there were probably about 10 of us, I guess. I mean, we had a big crew there, and we were having trouble walking in that cave because the mud was so thick. But there were no tracks nowhere. There were no tracks. It was like no one had even walked in there in a long time. I mean, you could tell.
Interesting.
No one had walked. So the conclusion was, well, whatever took our chicken scaled the wall and climbed up the side of the wall.
What?
And, or it just disappeared. Yeah. Or it just disappeared. And it did feel like as soon as we walked into that cave and went into, like, I'm going to call it the foyer of the cave. Like when you first walk into it, it felt like another dimension. As soon as you walked in down there, it felt like we had walked through a portal into another realm. Is what it felt like. So to just to fast forward a little bit, towards the end of that trip, we were out there. I guess Farrah had gotten out an SLS camera. Okay, like a SLS, where if you watch those ghost shows, you can see where it looks like stick figures pop up in the camera, like a kinetic kind of device. I don't know what exactly how it works, but you know, the ghost shows use them. And so I had my REM pod, which is like this little device with an antenna, and anytime something comes up close to it, it'll alert, and you know, red lights will go off or green lights will go off, or it beeps, and I don't know what it's measuring exactly. I don't think anybody does, except for a change in the energy in the environment. Okay.
Yeah.
But we were looking at that SLS camera. We had it set up, and at some point in the night, a giant stick figure came crawling out of the cave, and out of an upper cavern, and it scaled down the wall, and two little stick figures scaled down the wall beside it, and it stood there in the entrance of the cave. And one of those little tiny SLS stick figures that we were watching through the camera jumped on my REM pod antenna and started spinning circles around it and stuff. And it looked like the big giant. I mean, it was a giant. It looked like it had horns on its head. It was weird. It was almost like a bull or maybe a devil or something. I don't know. It was weird. Or Minotaur. It could have been anything, but it was huge. It was the height of the cavern of the cave. It was really big. So that's an interesting story. I know it's not the not deer. Okay, but
no. I have so many questions now about it because okay, first of all, it has babies.
Yeah.
I know it sounds funny, but I mean, think about it. And then, what do you think it is when they? So I understand that there's this thing called the Oz factor, loss of time, changing energy, transformation of heat into cold. What's it called? Sorry, I'm stuttering, guys. Loss of time, and there's
Missing
many
time.
other missing time. Sorry, and many other things that are a factor. You know, when something's gonna happen, and then your sixth sense gets triggered. But what is that? Is it that you are changing light spectrum? I want to say, what is it that changes in that cave, in that gateway?
Well, it's interesting. I don't think anything changed in there. I think it was always that way. You know, as far as whatever showed up. I mean, maybe there is some sort of portal down there, or maybe it's just, you know, I'm the kind of person who grew up with paranormal occurrences happening around me all the time. I'm tuned into some other multi-dimensional reality. I always have been. And some people, okay, when we walk into an environment, we can detect an energy change. We can detect something else in that environment. That's
like what happened to me right now, because I
can't.
stuttered as soon as I started. I never stutter on my shows. It's crazy.
It
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that means it's important then. Whatever you're trying to say is important. Okay. but I don't know if anything really shifted other than they just came into our reality. Something popped into our reality. You know, we were in their realm down there in that cave. And there was even a point where the guys, like we explored that cave. I knew that once we got deep into that cave, if something were to charge at us from the other direction, we were screwed because that mud was so thick. I mean, we were losing our shoes basically. I had on muck boots or hiking boots or something, and our shoes were getting stuck. So I kind of knew better. I was like, I'm not a caver. I'm not a spelunker. I obviously don't like caves. I'd never really been deep into a cave until that trip. And I realized that I'm not a fan of caves. But some of the guys love caves. And they went back pretty far into that cave. And at some point, leave it to Drewski. He whistled. Okay. And there's a couple of rules about, when we're in the woods, and we pretty much break all of them. So there's rules,
but you guys
we
are
don't
well
really go
prepped
by
also.
them.
You guys seem to know what you guys are doing. So
we know what we're doing. We do. We also are a little bit crazy as well. Okay. And we're there for the experience. We're not there to be scared and to cower from stuff. We're there to run after it and to have it be known and shown. And, we're wanting to see things. If it's out there, we want to see it. We want to encounter it. And so they went back there, and I think Drewski decided to whistle. And something poked his head. What they said, I wasn't back there. I was up at the front with Farah, doing the SLS cameras and stuff up there with her. And they said that it looked like a pale crawler had peeked its head around the back of the cave. I mean, and it wasn't even the back of the cave, but all the way to where they had gotten to before the ropes ran out. Yeah. So I think they got it on video, as a matter of fact. So you should ask him about that sometime.
He mentioned it to me when he was on my show about 6 months ago, and he mentioned that, but he only mentioned the things that were happening in the cabin before they moved out. And then after, he didn't mention you. But now that we're here, and you told me that you had, you said something earlier before we started recording about your live, and I'm gonna have to segue into that. You used to work at an agency. Am I allowed to ask this?
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't talk about it publicly too often, but people who know me from my former life. Yes. I worked in government. I did. I ran an agency actually here in the state of Georgia. And
connected to cryptids?
No, not at all. Women, actually. Women and children.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that. And I was actually Bigfooting back then too. I mean, I had that job for almost 20 years. Yeah, just shy of 20 years. And I was actually, I started doing Bigfoot field investigations, and I'm on multiple research teams, by the way. And back then I joined around 2011 a team. I was asked to go out on an expedition. And so I would just tell people I worked with that I was going camping. That was an easy thing to say. Okay. And back then Bigfooting was not as popular as it is now. It was not. People, I did get made fun of quite a bit by my friends and stuff. They thought I was crazy, but they also knew who I was, and they know that I'm always open-minded and I always chase the weird stuff. When it comes to the paranormal and the supernatural, I was always into it. So no shocker.
And in what way, in what manner do you say you have a type of gift?
Yeah, a gift, like tuning into the supernatural and stuff.
How do you turn that switch on? Does everybody have that potential, or is it just something that you're gifted?
Well, so here there's different gifts, and I have the privilege and the honor of having gifts passed down throughout the generations, and I come from a long line of women on my mom's side of the family and on my father's side too, of very psychically switched on humans. Nobody ever talked about it or called it that, but they were very psychic and could see things and see people who had passed on and things like that. But highly religious as well on both sides, by the way. And so, I even my great grandmother on my mom's side, she and my great aunt had a possible alien abduction back in the 1980s. Where they were driving down the road at night, and they were both very psychic, by the way. And but they were driving down the road, and a light came down over their car and enveloped the whole car. And the next thing they know, they were a county over, and it was an hour or more later, and they were 20 miles down the road, and they didn't know how they got there. Wow. They were still driving. Now, they attributed that to angels taking them out of harm's way. They said that till the very last day. They didn't talk about it much. But anytime you could get them to talk about it, they said it was angels. It wasn't a UFO and ETs. So, right? it's kind of wild, right? But my dad's side of the family had stories about balls of fire floating out of the woods and coming. Actually, that was my mom's side of the family. My dad's side of the family had a haunted house that the family built a long time. It had ghosts in it and stuff. And my dad saw ghosts. He saw my great grandmother in his bedroom one night and thought it was me. Okay, because we looked a lot alike apparently. But on my mom's side, my great grandmother, she was married to, her husband was in the Civil War. Okay, and as she was dying, this ball of fire came out of the woods. The whole family watched it as it circled the house, and it came through a window, and it went through every room of the house, and it kind of floated by her bed. It was just a ball of fire, they said, and shortly after she died. Yeah, it's wild. So I come from a family that has a lot of supernatural occurrences and stuff like that. And
you should write a book.
I'm working on it. Multiple books, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. That's I'm a sucker for all that stuff. I shared the story with Drewski, and I seen an elf. And
what?
I know people will not believe the story. I've said it countless times on the show. I've seen, and I was 22 years old, and I promise you, I was sober, and I came out of work, and he was maybe that tall.
Wow.
And like, it was, the story would never change, and it impacted me so much. The next morning, I told my mom. I'm not gonna go into details with how I saw it and everything. I live in LA, bro. It's not like it's in the woods, right? What the heck? But I told my mom the next day, and she told me, don't worry about it. Stop mentioning it. Don't leave them offerings. Just let it be. What? What do you mean let it be? She goes, mijo, I've seen them all my life when I was coming up. Mind you, this is my adoptive mother. I'm not blood related. It's not like it's a generational curse or a gift or nothing. None of that. It's just she's seen them too. And I was like, what are the odds of that, right? But yeah, so the world of cryptozoology or Bigfooters and other entities in different dimensions, it's very real. And some even might even consider it demonic. So when your parents and your ancestors called them angels, hey, you never know.
It's all about perspective, really. It honestly is. And it's like, I would assume that my great grandmother and my great aunt had an alien abduction or something. But to them, no, it was angels. They would never even, that's not even in their thought, their thought frequency. Okay, that would even be that. And it is all a matter of perspective. And I say that I'm a Bigfoot field researcher, but that's how I started out. But I have such an open mind. We have to have an open mind about things, because when we're out there doing these investigations, we run into way more than just Bigfoot. And in my experience, the first time I ever even went Bigfooting, and I do believe your little elf story, by the way, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on in LA. And I've covered a lot of stuff out of LA, including the lizard people city underneath your town.
What?
Well. Oh, yeah.
Lizard people city. Now you're diving into a conspiracy.
No, it's real. It's documented. You can look it up. Look up the lizard people city.
I have
done a remote viewing of it.
Do you have a video on it on your YouTube channel?
I do. Absolutely, I do. I have. I believe I did a remote viewing session of that as well, because I'm actually trained in remote viewing, the style that our military uses. Shut the front door.
Why didn't you start the show with that? Lady, Miss Jones, come on.
Yeah.
Remote view. So I have to ask you this. Now we're almost toward the end of the freaking show. I need to ask this. Remote view. Is it okay? The reason I'm not asking you this is because I'm a livid lucid dreamer. I could go to sleep right now, think about what I want to start off dreaming, and it'll just dive into it. And I'm consciously controlling the dream. And I could do what I want. I could do the tricks, and sometimes it'll have different outcomes. I call that coincidence. What's it called? Consequences. But I get to live a portion of another life for that time frame while I'm asleep. My brain isn't asleep. My body, this meat suit's asleep, but I could control it in my lucid dream. Is that the same thing as almost remote viewing? You get to live in a different perspective or point of view?
Oh, yeah. You'd make a great remote viewer, actually. Yeah. I mean, That's astral traveling, and what you're talking about is actually kind of like what we train in, doing the training. I've been doing remote viewing since around 2012, and I'm a part of a whole team. My entire Bigfoot field research team was trained in remote viewing
Good year
over
to
a
start, by
span
the
of,
way,
uh, oh yeah, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
cosmically.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
Mhm.
And but we're all trained as a team over a series. I mean, for about 10 years. I'm not gonna lie, like, you know, days on end we're training in remote viewing, okay, like the real kind of remote viewing, and like Ingo Swan methods and stuff. And you would make a great remote viewer because you're already tuned in, like you're already living with one foot in this dimension and one foot in the other realm, okay. And I can tell just by what you're talking about, and even having that elf sighting, you know what I mean, you're seeing things that most people can't see, and that's kind of like how I am as well. We're tuned into something, and it's just like with the Bigfoots, we call it the X factor. That's what my team calls it. It's some people say, well, Bigfoots are just flesh and bone. No, well, they're flesh and bone, but they're also, there's an X factor to them. There's something could be interdimensional. They could be accessing natural portals. They
Mhm.
could be just vibrating a little higher, a little bit lower, you know,
Key.
than humans. There's a whole bunch of different avenues we can take when it comes to the X factor, but the humans have the X factor too, just like yourself. And part of the training that we did what I call dream work, is what I call it. And that's where you think about something, or you know, you have a question at night. What I do is I'll write it down in a notepad in
Mhm.
cursive writing. Cursive is important. That's why they quit teaching kids cursive. Okay,
Yes,
because it's part
100%.
of our subconscious flowing and working. Okay, it deals with our subconscious. Okay, and so I write things out in cursive, and I'll put the notepad by the bed. And if I have a question, like I'll write that question down, and then I'll dream it that night. Like my higher self, my angels, my ancestors, somebody comes through, and we marinate on it. We chop it up at night while I'm sleeping. Okay.
So, two questions. First one would be after your session of dream work. it's- I'm asking for a friend myself. Do you also wake up exhausted? Like excited that you did it, but exhausted?
I have, you know what, I used to wake up really tired at times, for sure. There are times today, it's so weird because like my sleep patterns have changed a lot over the past, I'm going to say about the past few months. My sleep patterns have changed where like I don't sleep as much as I used to.
Mhm.
And so I'm requiring less sleep now. So
Mhm.
even when I'm like having intense dreams and stuff, I wake up and I'm fine. Maybe I'm just used to it. Maybe it's just the energies of the world. I don't know. But it's something. Okay. And so I have had times where I've been very tired, but I work more in the dream state than I do here on Earth. And I work a lot here on Earth. Okay. I work a
And
lot in the 3D.
so you can say that you've injected your dream work in the manifestation side of things. Can you weaponize it as a tool for manifestation?
Weaponize it. You can weaponize anything. Okay. Oh my gosh. I say that all the time when we're talking about cryptids and stuff. Like everything's weaponized. Our government's
Hmm.
weaponizing everything.
Yeah,
Um,
conspiracy theorists. Yeah, I have to
yeah.
do it.
It's not a conspiracy. It's not. It's actual. It's my reality for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but
Hmm.
um, but yeah, you can. I mean, that is part of manifesting, is dreaming things into being, right? You got to dream it. You got to think about it to manifest it. And so, yeah, I mean, they say that things have to manifest in the, 5D or above before it comes down to Earth, into the three-dimensional realm. And so it happens there first. So yeah, dream it. I mean, I love my dreams. I used to, if there's a dream that I don't like, if there's something that goes wrong in my dream and I don't like it, I can go back and change it. I do that. I don't know if you've ever tried that before,
I
but
did. Okay, I've
it's
tried doing
good.
that, but the problem with me is, okay, I call that consequence. I don't like the way that consequence came up. So I'm like, I'm gonna go back to like during the same night, and then I go back, I dive right into it again, and then I try to change it, but then I'm out of focus and I'm awake again. Like I lose it. I can't keep it. It's hard. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if I'm using the right terminology, but
yeah,
I think you connect.
yeah. I totally get it. Well, that's okay. I mean, don't kick yourself over it. Don't kick yourself over it. It's here's my thing about my dreams. is that I have lost a lot of people that I love. They've died. They passed on, and those people are just one sleep away from me getting to go hang out with them again. Okay, and that's it. Lately, I haven't been hanging out with all my dead relatives and friends lately. Okay, I don't remember seeing them lately, but if I want to, I can, and we can access people we love through our dreams. And when I wake up from a dream, it's just like it really happened. A lot of times, yeah.
I would have to think, and I'm more of a simulation guy. So I would think because of the way our brain works as a memory card. Once we access those faculties, we get to reignite that simulation, and it's not necessarily real. What's your take on that?
That's really cool because I say pretty often I think that we live in a simulation.
Mm.
I think we live in one.
Yeah.
I really do. And I had this conversation. I am not necessarily like into the, I don't know. Being a remote viewer, most of us do believe the earth is round as far as remote viewing goes. Okay. But there's a lot of people who think the earth is flat. Okay. And I love having a conversation about it. I love it. I don't back away from topics that are, hard to discuss. And people, that is one of the most polarizing conversations too, by the way, is like the earth, round versus flat earth. Okay. And I was on a show one day with Mark Sargent. I think Mark. And he's like the king of the flat earthers. Okay. And he's not the king. He doesn't call himself that, but that's what I call him. Okay.
Word.
And we had this really interesting conversation. I kept saying, well, anything's possible. I don't know at this point. I have such an open mind about stuff. My viewpoint can change from day to day. Okay, because I really don't know, and I believe it's round, but it could be flat.
It's both. It's a watch. It's like a watch.
It's all of it. It's all of it. Some people say it's shaped like a hot dog. Okay, so, but I said I just think we live in a simulation. Like somebody just hits a button and things change overnight. What's up with all these Mandela effects? What's up with? There's just so many things we can't explain. There's no point in even trying. And he said, well, that's interesting that you keep saying that because that's what he does for a living. He's a computer. He makes like games and stuff for like video games and stuff. And I was like, man, what are the odds of me thinking, we're talking about flat earth. I don't know anything about it really, but I tell him, I think this is a simulation. And then that's what he does for a living. And he's like, you have a valid point. Yes, we do live in a simulation, and so it's just weird. Right.
The idea of, and God, guys, I would look at the Bible looking for conspiracies and I come out believing in God. All right. I'm just want to make that very clear. But the idea of having an almighty creator letting us live our life as a simulation, it's a freaking simulation. All right, guys. That's it. It's a simulation. All right. First of all, second, he made us in their image and we make AI in ours. Simulation within a simulation, bro. It's just what it is. And it's hard to move away from it and not look at it straight in the eye, because once you see it, it's hard to be unseen,
Oh yeah. I just tell everybody to keep an open mind. Okay, just keep an open mind, and you are 100% correct. And I don't know. I mean, you're talking to a girl who goes out and chases monsters for fun. Okay, that's what I do for fun.
Out here.
Yeah, I mean, I chase monsters. I have seen plenty of things that aren't supposed to exist in this world, and you can't tell me that I didn't. Okay, and I haven't experienced that. I mean, there's a reason I keep going into the woods every single week. Okay, I'm in the woods every week, and at some point, either with my teams or with my son and my dog. We're out there. I got a trip this week coming up. I always chase monsters, and because I know they're out there, and we're not out there. I'm not chasing them to like go hunt them down. The whole point of like what my original team does, we're out there communicating with them. We're communicating with Bigfoots and stuff. Like we established decades ago they're real. They're there. We know they're there. They're real. Now what's the next step? Well, let's communicate. Okay. I'm not out here to like prove to the world that Bigfoot's real. I don't care. I have no reason to go prove anything to anybody because I'm not out here to prove it to other people. I'm here to do it for myself because I love it and it's fun. And I never even meant to go public ever. That was the last thing on my agenda, was to ever speak about Bigfoot, Dogman, anything publicly, because I knew about the pushback, and I didn't care for all that, and but somehow I ended up speaking at a conference, and it snowballed from there, and now I do 4 live shows a week about Bigfoot and Dogman and stuff. So, but anyways,
with that, where can people find you?
People can find me on my YouTube channel. That's the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. And I also have a website. It's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find me there. I'm the Cryptid Huntress on all the social media platforms except for Twitter. Or X. I'm Huntress Jessica.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check her out on YouTube and on Instagram and everything. The description is going to be on the bottom of this show. And she's also going to be featured on the website under special guest and links. Jessica Jones, thank you so much for taking the time and being here, giving us your presence and your wisdom and showing us so much love and support. We're going to make sure that people go find you at your YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to check her out. I don't know why the hell I'm stuttering today. Enough is enough. Check her out again on YouTube, guys, and drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Peace.